Good afternoon and welcome to the balance sheet. I don't normally do political-ish views, but I'm going to do this one just because it's such a crazy story and there's been a lot of stuff happening in DC this week. Why not? Anyway, a top counterterrorism official in the Trump admin is under investigation for seeking out sugar daddies. This is a woman who's looking for sugar daddies. That's the headline. Now, this guy who made the report to the media says he spent 40 grand on Julia Vivaro, the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism, in just 3 months. Spending 40 grand in 3 months, that's a pretty accelerated thing. That's not somebody who's been dating for a couple of years and bought you a car or something. I mean, that's still pretty generous, but this here looks like a lot of money in a short period of time, which starts to look maybe transactional or who knows what. Anyway, Aruba, the Italian Riviera, Swiss Alps, Milan, vacations, rent, fancy shoes, jewelry. At one point, she was referring to the jewelry as trophies from previous sugar daddies. So doesn't sound like she's new to this at all. She called herself Boss Princess, told him she was above being tested when he warned her about drug use risking her clearance. Now, if she's in Department of Homeland Security, she has a clearance, and she's not allowed to be smoking weed or whatever else. It doesn't matter what the rules might be for that state. Federal law is, there's no medical this, no recreational that. No, can't do it. So he was right to bring that up. Anyway, they carried on for a while, and this came out today in the Daily Mail, and people are saying, oh, it's none of your business and whatever else. I'm sorry, I know from my experience in the DC area and in the military and whatever else, when you have a clearance, these kinds of things do matter, especially if you work in a place like DHS at that level. I don't know if her position was approved by the Senate or not, but you don't just do what you want and conceal stuff like that. They have policies and regulations as far as what you're supposed to reveal. So she looks pretty good, 29 years old, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism with the Department of Homeland Security, facing scrutiny over claims about how she comes by her lavish lifestyle. Well, this is how she comes by it. This guy here, known as Robert B., who reported to the Daily Mail under the condition they anonymize his face, and I can't really blame him. Well, there they are in what looks like Europe. I'm not sure where that is, having a good time. And sure. How did she get that job? Well, she started out as a program analyst for FEMA in the Biden administration. And apparently, once she finished her PhD, she developed enough contacts and people knew a guy who knew something about beauty contests and who looks good and who can do the job. So, yeah, you can see how she would qualify. And there's others there who, have other interesting stories about their personal life. Kristi Noem, well, we don't need to talk about Kristi Noem and her interesting lifestyle choices. Well, the husband's anyway. CIA officer bringing up finding the claims troubling. They are troubling. This kind of thing's going to get investigated. She's probably going to get drug tested. She denies illegal smoking marijuana. Well, they're going to find that out. Hey, at least she had her own. Didn't have to wear those, right? But the reason I bring this up is in the course of all the hullabaloo that made the media, and just another quick look here, you can see he's sitting straight up like this. You ever seen Rivellino on Twitter? He puts the green lines. You can see who's really into who. Well, she's got a green line going this way, but her head is going up that way in a way. She's probably okay with the transactional side of it, but she's not into him. Again, here, I don't know why he thought this would be funny. She's standing straight up and sort of pitching her head away. She's not leaning her head against him. She doesn't have her hand on her chest or anything. She's not really into this guy, not mate guarding or protective. No, this is an arrangement. Okay, we're in Italy. I enjoy being in Italy. You buy me stuff. Okay, the weather's crappy, but at least I got a nice coat and a free umbrella. And there's the text messages that detail the $2,000, half your rent. Okay. Fancy shoes. And I need M-Sculpt. Neo, if your friend doesn't do this. I don't know what M-Sculpt is. I think it's some kind of a cosmetic enhancement. Don't know if anybody knows. I'd appreciate that in the comments. But who's paying for that? He eventually complains, I've dropped 30 to 40 grand on you with the last 3 months we've dated. In the past week, you've demanded I give you $4,000 for rent, $2,000 for M-Sculpt, $1,000 for sandals, a credit card. See this? Demanded. This isn't just, I want to surprise you, honey. Now she's starting to demand support. And he was going along with it for a little while, but I think eventually he woke up. Good for him. Better late than never. And that's the kind of thing. Look, come on. The I love mommy kiss. She's not into him. Don't never do that. But you can see it's, oh, there she is. Probably during the first administration with outside of the Trump trained aircraft. And messages go on, and the guy says, I'm not feeling respected, appreciated, loved, or acknowledged. Brother, I got news for you. You need to understand how these relationships work or quit wasting your money on them. I mean, if you're okay with spending that kind of money and you get it, then sure, have at it. It's your life, your money, but he's not getting it. What? Told you I'm not paying your bills until we're engaged? Oh boy. Well, maybe he wasn't really on board with the whole sugar daddy thing and just was being naive. Anyway, yeah, so she didn't have any problem accepting the gifts or the trips or whatever else went on with it. But there she is at Mar-a-Lago at the Liberty Ball. So she was, she was in with the Trump train. And here she is. Her Twitter account has since been disabled. But again, this is not just about a jealous boyfriend or a jilted lover or any of that. What he said here, Ryan Naval, it was repeated by a few other people. Ryan Rosbiani, I never followed this guy before, but he wrote about it. And in the comments to this particular one here, okay, if full background investigation missed any of this. Well, in chimes this guy, Adam White, who says he's former counterintelligence agent. So if that's true, he knows about background investigations, and he knows that, a background investigation would have revealed a few things, like what he talks about in a since deleted tweet, which here, used to date this girl. 100% of what I've read so far tracks. Ha. And girl loved to drive hammered too. I recall correctly, she told me she had totaled 6 cars. This was in 2023. And somebody in the comments replied back saying, how did that not come up? He said, I don't know. She had friends with her father on the police department. And this is between Long Island and New York City. She lived on Long Island. They dated when he was in New York City, I guess. Bit of an alcohol problem. A few wrecks from possibly DUI. Don't know. I mean, maybe Hegseth hired her. Not sure. But the point is, this guy deleted the tweets. They're going to come up. They're going to be investigating this kind of thing again. So the drug testing, the things they missed in the investigation, and meanwhile Matt Gaetz chimes in with, nobody in the store did anything wrong. Yeah, actually they may have. Not reporting a financial enrichment, if you're in a position like that, is against policy, and it needed to be reported. Doesn't mean she was going to be fired, doesn't mean anything bad, but you got to report stuff like that. Is wanting expensive stuff your boyfriend illegal now? It is if it's prostitution. Is wanting a boyfriend who can get you expensive stuff forbidden? Well, no, but depends how you go about it. Is getting a girlfriend the expensive stuff she wants a sign of a bad guy? Actually, that can be, and that's the whole point of this. If this guy wanted to try to influence her to get information from whatever job she was doing over there at Homeland Security, then yeah, you pile on stuff like this. Maybe you get loose lips, sink ships kind of thing. I don't really care how this woman dates. All that matters is whether she's good at her job. Well, doesn't matter whether you care or not, Matt. The rules are what they are. And what matters, if she's good at a job, if she's that good, she'd know what she has to report. So she's now being checked out, as she should be. I mean, seriously. James Lee pointed out something else here. I feel like the bigger story isn't the sugar baby stuff, but the fact she was a FEMA program analyst under the Biden administration who somehow convinced Trump to hire her as a deputy assistant secretary for counterterrorism. I'm not going to improvise on that, but starting out as a program analyst, that level after your PhD isn't really unheard of. So that's probably not abnormal. As far as any improprieties of Trump getting to hire her, Trump hired the staff of Fox News, okay? And he will hire any babe that he finds attractive on TV, so that shouldn't surprise you. I mean, come on, I've been around since the Clinton administration following this kind of stuff. It maybe wasn't so overt back then, but this kind of stuff, hiring because somebody looks good, whatever. Anyway, if you thought this was interesting, leave a like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you in a bit. Thanks.